Steelers defeat the Browns 27-14 on this fine Sunday in December. Ugly game though, kinda. The score didn't really indicate, I feel like, how the game flowed and felt. 'Cause it was a little bit of a snooze fest in the first half. You had the Browns missing field goals. We got a little sloppy in the second half too on offense with the Cordell Patterson fumble. But ultimately, it was, I feel like, how it was supposed to go in a way. Like the end result was the end result that was supposed to happen not only in this game, but also on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago. The better team won, and we won by double digits. And there was never really any point throughout that game where I felt like we were going to lose. Maybe outside of the first quarter, but that's the first quarter for a reason. It's the start of the game. There's a feeling out process. But after the first, it was just like, we're going to win this. We're definitely going to win this game. The Browns is the Browns, and they are proving it by their kicker missing the field goals, by Jameis Winston throwing picks, Kadarius Toney muffing the punt at the end. But it was just this weird game where it didn't feel like we played at the top of our game, but we still played winning football and enough to get out of the stadium with a win. We were the better team. We were the ones that got the turnovers. The run game was prominent throughout, especially with us missing Pickens, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. The defense played good. The defense was stout. There was a drive or two where you were giving up a little bit more than you would have liked against Jameis. Jameis was doing some of the John Elway stuff that he did on Thursday Night Football, but that was less apparent in this game. There was almost like a little bit of a role reversal from what happened on Thursday Night Football, where all the breaks were going the Browns' way. They were getting all those fourth downs. Their kicker made his field goals. Boswell missed his field goal. We weren't getting our fourth downs. Whereas in this game, their kicker missed all the field goals. They didn't get the fourth down that they really needed. And I get it. The Browns had a couple of those fourth downs that they converted late in the game, but that was like garbage time. The fourth down that they really needed that would have extended the game, gave them like a little bit of a chance in the second half, they didn't get. A lot of the breaks went our way. A lot of the things, I think that things were just more favorable for us. Or maybe it wasn't exactly like favorable for us, or things were slanted towards us. It was just more of an equal playing field. And again, the better team won. We won by double digits. And the result is what was expected. So overall, yeah, I think it was. I'm seeing a couple of the comments. You guys are saying good team won. Yeah, it was. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't the prettiest of games. Like, we had to slug it out on offense at times, but it was like a Steeler football type of win. It was like a Tomlin type of win. We stuck with the run game. We stayed balanced. Russ only had like $150 passing, but we converted when we really needed to. We converted on short fields. We either got a field goal or we got the touchdown. And then in the second half, Russ really started cooking. And that's something that you could definitely count on with Russell Wilson. That's how he's made his hay throughout his career. Been a second half player, fourth quarter, a clutch time performer. And we're seeing that game in and game out. So no matter how slow we're starting on offense, I probably feel like a lot of you guys were thinking, oh man, this offense is whack. Can we get Justin Fields out there for a spark? Dude, just wait till the second half. As long as the game is in balance, as long as we got a chance, the game's within reach, no matter what point in the game it is, whether it's the first half, second quarter, third quarter, second, whenever it is, just wait, because Russ is going to step up. You always got a chance with him. There's always going to be a chance for comeback. And in this game, we didn't even need a comeback. We were up the whole game. But it just felt weird because of how lackluster the offense was in that first half. But again, we made most of the short field. We played complementary football. When the defense gave us opportunities, we converted it into points. And whenever the Browns were in our zone, whenever they weren't able to punch it in for 7, they missed field goals. And then we just took over in the second half and put our stamp on this game. But how about the Pickens situation? Because that's a huge story coming out of this game. Obviously, we won 27-14. We're 10-3. Got a legitimate chance at the 1 seed. Took care of business. But Pickens not playing? What the hell happened there? Did anyone even know he was on the injury report throughout the week? because that was something not talked about at all. He was on the injury report for Wednesday and Thursday with a hamstring, like out of practice, and then was limited on Friday. So I think it was smart that we sat him out. If you're believing that we sat him out due to injury, because there are some conspiracy theories out there that think it was Tomlin disciplining Pickens. His way of disciplining Pickens was to sit him because of what happened last week and how Tomlin said that Pickens needs to grow up fast. And then with Pickens' interview this week, his little interview in the locker room with the media, the local media and stuff, he was chirping the Browns a little bit. He wasn't giving them much respect, and he called out Greg Newsome and said, "I don't even know who he is." And he was asked about the Browns and what type of team they are, or what he thinks about this matchup. He said their record says it all, and obviously they're 3-9, and now they're 3-10. But with him saying that, he's basically alluding to the Browns being a bad team and that the Steelers shouldn't have any issues. So people are thinking that based off how Pickens reacted in that interview and some of his responses, that this was discipline. It's like, bro, I told you after that Bengals game, we got to button things up. You got to grow up quick. We're a legitimate Super Bowl contender here. We're not going to be able to have this nonsense going forward. Not only in terms of like the vibes for the locker room, but on the field. You're costing us yards. You're getting penalties out here. You're costing the team. I don't buy it, though. I don't buy that Tomlin sat Pickens for disciplinary reasons. I don't, especially because of the fact that Pickens was on the injury report before he did the interview. Like, he was out of Wednesday and Thursday's practice with the hamstring, limited Friday. So, like, he must have legitimately had a hamstring. That's how I feel about it, because if it was disciplinary, I feel like he wouldn't have been on the injury report like that. And then it just would have randomly popped up over the weekend after Pickens made those comments. And just the fact, too, if you look at Pickens' history here, there were more times that a benching would have been appropriate, particularly last year after that 3-game skid. And I think it was that Colts game where it really hit its peak. He wasn't blocking for Jalen Moore, and I think he made some weird comments in the media. I think that would have been the time to bench Pickens, and I think the whole fan base, the media, even like the national media would have said, that's probably the right thing to do. It's probably time to keep Pickens in check. But we didn't, and he played in that Bengals game. The rest is history. We go on the run with Rudolph and everything. So if there was a time to bench him, I feel like that would have been the time. This feels less urgent based off what Pickens did against the Bengals and some of these comments he made in the media. It seems just very mild compared to what was going on last year. So I think it was smart. If Pickens does legitimately have a hamstring, there's no reason to be putting him out there and risking a serious injury for down the stretch, for him to injure the hamstring further, because it is one of those nagging injuries, man. It's one of those things where if you don't get that right, almost like Russ with the calf. We were very cautious with Russ, man. We probably sat him out a couple weeks longer than, I don't want to say we should have, but he probably could have played. He said he could have played week 1. But maybe after that 3rd or 4th week to start the season, Russ, he could have played. But we were really precautious. And I feel like we're smart in being precautious with Pickens' hamstring, because once you're in the playoffs, which the Steelers were in the playoffs. I know we don't technically have the playoff berth locked up, but we're 10-3 right now. We're in the playoffs. There's a big argument to be made that once you're in and the playoffs are locked up, health is the most important thing. It's more important than seeding, winning the division, whatever else you want to throw out there. I'd rather my team be fully healthy, at least having your stars be healthy. That's the most important thing. Your key guys, having Russ be healthy, Pickens be healthy, TJ healthy, Cam Hayward. Like, I'd rather have that than have the 1 seed and be missing Pickens and one of our star defenders. I'd rather be the 5 seed and completely healthy, all the stars being there, because listen, man, once you're in, it's 1-game scenarios, man. Whether it's home or away, we've seen how many teams. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, perfect example with Brady. Won on the road every game and won the Super Bowl. Chiefs last year, won on the road every game, won the Super Bowl. We did way back in the day with Big Ben in his second year in 2005. Won on the road every game, won the Super Bowl. Packers against us. Hate bringing it up, but in 2010, 2011, won on the road every game as the 6th seed, won the Super Bowl. So I'm not as concerned about like the home field advantage and all that stuff compared to being healthy, and or at least your stars being healthy, your key cogs being healthy. So I think we played this right. George Pickens is clearly our best receiver, one of the most impactful guys on offense. We need him to be healthy. And we saw just what our offense looked like without Pickens, particularly in that first half. Took us a little bit to get things going. But weirdly, I thought it opened up in the second half. And again, Russ is more of a second half player, and credit to Arthur Smith for making some adjustments. But I do think Pickens being out gave some opportunity for other guys to step up. And you like to see that whenever you're about to go on a playoff run. You like to see a Scotty Miller making some plays. You like to see the guy that we just traded for, Mike Williams, making some plays. So that's the silver lining also with us sitting Pickens out. Not only does he get an extra week to really get that hamstring rested properly, but we actually get to see a Russell Wilson to Mike Williams connection. And it was a little bit better than what the stats are going to indicate, because Mike Williams ended up with 3 for 36, but if he doesn't get that pass interference called against him, that's 4 for like 60. That's a good game. So I like that we got some rapport, some chemistry built up with Mike Williams. And I don't think that happens if Pickens is out there, because Pickens is taking that Mike Williams role. Pickens is doing everything that Mike Williams did this game, and all those stats and probably more go to Pickens as opposed to Mike Williams and a Scotty Miller. Van Jefferson catching that touchdown. So, like, there is a little bit of a silver line. Now, it helps that we won, right? Helps that we won. I think it's a different story if we lost. We're probably complaining about everything and how big of an impact not having Pickens was and how stupid of a decision it was to not have him out there. But even if we would have lost, I would still be saying the same thing, because if we were sitting at 9-4, I'm like, bro, Pickens being healthy for the playoffs is more important than this win right now. I'd rather be one of these wild card teams, but fully healthy, than Pickens being out because he's out there unnecessarily in this Browns game or another game, and he re-injures the hamstring. He's out for the rest of the season, or out big time. He's severely limited, or you know what I mean? Like I just would. I think health is way more important than seeding whenever you get to the playoffs. How many times have you seen the Lions? Watch out for the Lions, man. They're an example of this right now. They're getting really banged up. And, like, I bet you if you ask Lions fans if they would rather have their full bill of health, like Aiden Hutchinson back, some of these guys that they've been missing recently, if they would rather have those guys fully healthy for the playoff stretch, or would they rather have the 1 seed? I bet you they would rather be healthy. And say they lost the NFC North and we're the 5 or 6 seed. That's my take on it. That's my take. Now, in this case, luckily, those things don't have to be like mutually exclusive, because we were able to sit Pickens, give him another week, and we also won the game and are still looking for that 1 seed. What do you guys think of the game? Let me read some of these comments here. Black and Gold 86 says, don't believe he was benched against a division game or a division team. I agree. I feel like, if anything, Tomlin feeds into the division rivalries, some of the beef, some of the smoke, and obviously that is there with Pickens and the Browns and Greg Newsome. Tomlin likes that stuff. He feeds into that, and he likes to hype that up. Not necessarily in front of us or like in the media, but definitely within the locker room and to his players. So I just don't see why the Pickens comments and what Pickens did last week would be the grounds for benching, when I felt like Pickens was doing way worse to jeopardize his team last year. X Concepts 1 says, God hates Jameis. He ignored him begging to save him from the picks. Yeah, he had 2 picks in this one. Could have had like another 1 or 2. There was one I feel like went through Casey's hands early in the game. But yeah, Jameis, he did some of his Jameis stuff, man. He did some of his Jameis stuff. I think we kept him in check, though, pretty good. I think we kept that Browns offense, for the most part, one-dimensional. They didn't do much on the ground. If anything, Jameis was their most effective runner. He had 4 carries for 28 yards on that's 7 per carry. He was their most efficient runner, and that was on, like, broken plays and stuff. Now, they did the one read option where you're just like, "Okay, this is garbage time. Browns are just trying to pull out every trick in the book right now to fool our defense." It's getting embarrassing. It's getting desperate. But Nick Chubb only 11 carries, 48 yards. Jerome Ford, 10 carries, 28 yards. We kept our offense in check. I mean, a lot of that was due to the consistent pressure we were getting. And it's not going to completely show up on the stat sheet because our edge rushers, like TJ, he didn't have this monster game. He didn't have any sacks, but it felt like he was always there. And even when TJ had to sit out or when Herbig was in the game for a little bit, Herbig was like right there too. I was expecting another sack from him, maybe even a strip sack. Highsmith had one early in the game, but then some of the others, like Cam, had 2 sacks. That was just due to, I think, our secondary stepped up because those were more coverage sacks. I think like Jameis had a lot of time. He had to move around the pocket. Though again, that was due to our pressure. It made Jameis uncomfortable. But then Cam was able to sneak in a couple sacks right there. So like we didn't have like in terms of like the cleanest game with the sacks and the pressure. We only ended up with 3, the Cam 2 and the Highsmith 1. But it felt like that pressure was consistently there and kept Jameis on his toes. And that also was shown by his completion percentage, 24-41. Like he missed some bad throws too throughout the course of that game. 24-41, is that barely 60%? That's not like that high of a percentage or that good of a percentage in the 2024 NFL right now. Add that to the fact, or add to that he had 2 interceptions too. I liked how our defense played, man. I think our defense played pretty good. What more can you ask, really? Got the turnovers, got the pressure. Browns, I mean, the game was over at the end of the third quarter, early fourth quarter, and then the Browns had 7 points. We held them to 7. Now, I know the kicker missed some field goals, but the defense played good. It wasn't the prettiest of games, too, because that's the other thing. There were times where you felt like the defense got bailed out because of the missed field goals and, the Kadarius Toney muff punt. Like, it wasn't the prettiest of performances, but again, we got the job done, and you could even relay that same message with the offense. $158 for us. Yeah, it wasn't that pretty. Only $120 on the ground, 3.4 yards per carry, but we got the touchdown. Wasn't the best, but we did everything we needed to do to win the game. We played winning football. We picked our spots when it mattered. We got our couple touchdowns in the second half, and just closed out the game in proper fashion. I can't really ask for much more. It was just a good win, just a solid win. Did what we had to do. It wasn't us putting up 40 plus points like we did against the Bengals. With the defense last week, gave up their 30 plus. So this was, if anything, a little bit better showing by the defense, a little bit worse by the offense. But it goes back to what I was saying last week, where we could win in multiple styles. When the defense is struggling a little bit, the offense is going to pick it up. When the offense is struggling, the defense is going to pick it up. Special teams, most consistent unit all season. I think we have the best special teams in the league. Corliss Waitman punted awesome today. He was booming the ball down there. And then Boswell, best kicker in the league, showed it again today. And then we're always due for some type of splash play, whether it's a punt block, field goal block, or recovering a muff punt, which is what we did at the end of the game with Skoranek. Going back to the defense, though, I want to shout some guys out. Sean Elliott, every week, man, every week. It's criminal that Damar Hamlin is leading the NFL. I don't know if it's necessarily the whole NFL, but leading the AFC in Pro Bowl votes for safety. It's just you can't tell me that Damar Hamlin, with a straight face, is a better player than Deshaun Elliott. It's absolutely insane. I get it. The voters they're going for the storyline and everything, but that's not what the Pro Bowl and those type of end of season awards and accolades are supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about awarding the best players from that season, giving them their proper recognition. And Deshaun Elliott, you can't tell me you'd be hard pressed to tell me there's like 5 or 6 safeties playing better than Deshaun Elliott this year. every week, dude, he's doing something. Splash plays, tackles in the backfield, good coverage. He's all over the place, making up for missed tackles or missed assignments that we have in our front seven. Minka does a lot of that too, but you're seeing the splash with Deshaun Elliott. And I think Minka playing free safety and being our backfield enables Deshaun Elliott to do some more of this like free roaming stuff and be more playmaking. I think that's just that dynamic that we have with those two safeties this year. But man, I'll tell you what, dude, Deshaun Elliott, week in and week out, I think he led the team with 13 tackles. Yeah, 13 tackles. And then next on the tackle sheet is Patrick Queen, 10. This was one of his best games as a Steeler. He was noticeable out there. Definitely put a little, I don't want to say highlight reel, but put a little flash out there where whenever he was rushing the passer, whoa, that was quick. That was fast. It's like 2 or 3 times, and then had a pass deflection and coverage. 10 tackles. He was going sideline to sideline, making tackles, making things happen. His whole secondary played good too. JPJ, Dante Jackson, like Jerry Jeudy, coming off of that 200+ yard performance, that revenge game against the Broncos, only had 64 yards. Yeah, he had the touchdown, and that was, I think just Jameis making a play really there. That was one of those. Jameis rolls out to the left. He spots the little hole in the coverage and drops a little dime. What can you do? I think that was a good play by Jameis, but it's not like we were getting torched by Jeudy in man-to-man coverage and he was this huge problem for us. No, Jameis made a nice little play, improvised, threw the ball, saw an open Jeudy. And then Njoku, their next leading receiver, with 42 yards and a touchdown, and that was in garbage time. I think secondary played their ass off. And just the defense as a whole. Even though, again, we only have 3 sacks, we still had 6 QB hits. Like that, I think that's indicative of the pressure that we got on Jameis and just the hectic environment we created. Pierre got that pick. Shout out to him. Atlanta Roberts with the stop on 4th down. And TJ Watt. Can we talk about TJ? I already mentioned Cam Hayward. Beanie Bishop had a nice player too as well out there. He's kind of become the forgotten man over the last couple of weeks with Cam Sutton coming back, but he played a decent amount of snaps, actually. I think he definitely outplayed Cam Sutton. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't even see Cam Sutton on the stat sheet. I think Beanie Bishop was definitely more of a factor. And it makes sense going up against the Browns, a little bit more physical of a team as opposed to the Bengals. And Beanie Bishop better in the run defense than a Cam Sutton. But going back to TJ, what's going on with him for the DPOY right now? I feel like he didn't hurt his chances. He still had a good game, but we need those sacks, bro. Like, he needs a game where he's just boosting up the numbers, padding the stats. He gets like 3.5 sacks, 4 sacks, or something like that. That's what he needs. But he still had the tackle for loss. He still had a couple QB hits, 4 total tackles. His presence is still felt out there. And the fact, too, that he was such a heavy favorite going into this week makes me think that he's going to be the favorite again after this week, even though he didn't do anything to completely lock it up. I looked at the numbers mid-game. I looked at the odds and everything. For the DPOY, going into this matchup, TJ was minus 275. The next guy was Myles Garrett with plus 1,000. And Myles Garrett didn't do anything in this game. Now, I get it. You're going to see he had the fumble recovery late in the game and the garbage time sack where Russ literally wasn't even trying to evade the sack. He was like, dude, just tackle me. I'm protecting the ball. I want to go down so the clock's running. That was such a cheap sack. It really was. Russ wasn't trying to completely get out of the pocket or make a play or anything like that. He's like, bro, play's dead after the first couple seconds. Just tackle me. We need to keep this clock rolling. So that's going to go up on the Myles Garrett stat sheet, but anyone that actually watched the game can't tell me that he outplayed TJ Watt because he didn't. He was a no-show. Absolute no-show the whole game. But he's the next guy on the DPOY with plus 1,000. After him, it's Xavier McKinney with plus 1,600. So I don't think TJ Watt necessarily did anything to make him not the favorite, but I think he's just continuing to leave the door open for someone else to maybe have a stat padding type of week. Like if Myles Garrett goes off for 4 sacks next week, then the tides are going to start to change. If McKinney gets a couple more picks and one of them maybe goes to the house, then it's going to be tough to defend TJ for DPOY going forward unless he needs to start having some TJ games is what needs to happen. But I still think like the TJ impact's undeniable. He's still like you still sense that he's still the best defensive player in the league, but you do for these type of awards need those numbers to back it up. Luckily for TJ and luckily for Steeler fans that are rooting for TJ to win this, no one else is really balling out like that. Like that's kind of why TJ was the favorite going into this game with 9.5 sacks. Now he is still leading the league in forced fumbles. I think he's leading the league. It's either in QB hits or tackles for loss. It's one of those like other stats that are important for an edge rusher. He's leading the league in, and he's only 2 sacks behind Hendrickson. Hendrickson's got like 11.5, but now he's got a game tonight. So like TJ got his week 14 game done with 0 sacks. Now Hendrickson, if he gets like a sack and a half, couple sacks on Sunday Night Football, it's like, bro, you're leaving the door open. You're enabling additional conversation. Like some of these other guys that are just floating around there to really put their name in the conversation, because the fact that TJ is that heavily a favorite and he's not even having a TJ type of season goes to show, like, bro, it's there for you. It's there for you. Just lock this thing in. And because it's crazy too. This would, if he wins this up to this point, this would probably be the least deserving of all the DPOYs that he was snubbed of. This would be like the least deserving for TJ, for him to like actually win. Like last year, TJ should have won it. Clearly, he got snubbed. But this year, I can't say this year's better than last year for TJ. But because, again, no one else is like stepping up or really challenging like that, I actually feel like, based off the current landscape, TJ is deserving versus the other DPOY candidates and who else is in the conversation right now. TJ actually is deserving to win it, but based off prior, like TJ Watt versus TJ Watt, comparing his own seasons to each other, this would be like the least deserving DPOY, like the irony of it all. You get what I'm saying? I actually think TJ Watt should win the DPOY right now. If the season ended today, he should win. But it'd be like the worst TJ Watt season in like 6-7 years outside of the one that he was injured. So all I'm saying is like we need TJ Watt to lock this thing up. Come on, bro. We need like a 3-sack game. We need like a 4.5-sack game. Like we know how good you are. Steeler fans know how good you are. We know the impact. Like we watched your game today, and you were better than Myles Garrett, even though the stats are gonna have him with the sack and the fumble recovery, all that stuff. It's just, bro, get some additional numbers on the board for us. What else we got in the chat before I sign off out of here? Is there anything I missed? I don't know, man. I don't think I really missed anything. Russ did his thing in the second half. Offense looked good. And shout out to Arthur Smith for mixing up the play calls a little bit, doing some screens, getting more people involved, keeping the Browns defense just out of rhythm, out of sync, because we mixed it up with some of those screens, some of those like lateral passes that we were using almost as a pseudo run game, getting more people involved. I like that. I really did. And then when Russ had to, if it was a 3rd and long, extended the play, threw a dot down the field to Freiermuth, did that little rollout to Van Jefferson, had that laser to Pat Freiermuth. I think it was the second touchdown in that second half. The laser across the middle, boom, boom, boom. That wasn't even like an improvisational type of play. That was more just like Russ threading the needle, dropping back, boom. I do this, touchdown. This game's over. That was like late in the 3rd quarter. Game was over at that point. And how about the score prediction too? For me, 28. I think I said 28-13. I was off by a point for each team. Steelers end up with 27, Browns with 14. And it's kind of how I predicted. Then I said, this is going to be a clean dub. This is going to be an easy dub. It's going to play out like it should. The Steelers are going to show that they are the better team. I didn't know it was going to be necessarily this ugly. I didn't know Pickens was going to be out. So maybe I would have predicted us to be slugging it out on offense, just keeping the run game going as much as we have to. And then hoping that the Browns make their mistakes and Jameis throws the picks, and then converting on those opportune field positions, which, again, we did. Good complementary football, offense, defense. That osmosis effect, that back and forth effect was there, and special teams just keeps doing their thing. X Concepts 1 says, Muth needs targets every game. Absolutely. Yeah, he just keeps getting better and better as the season's going on with Russell Wilson out there. Yeah, if we want to talk about complementary football, X Concepts 1 says, Cordell Patterson helped Pierre be clutch today, or have the clutch play. Yeah, there you go. Cordell Patterson looking out for Pierre. Patterson saying, "Hey Pierre, you need a pick. Let me fumble this real quick. Let me give this back to Jameis. He'll throw a pick to you." That was a nice catch too. I didn't think he caught it initially. Looked like it might have hit the ground. That was really clean catch by him. But no, I wasn't a fan of that. I'm joking about the Cordell Patterson fumble and stuff. Like, why we always got to do some weird stuff when the game's locked up and give the other team a little bit of a chance, a little bit of hope. At least to this one, it didn't get to one score or anything actually, like, legitimately in range. 27-14. There was never a point where I felt like after that first quarter we were going to lose this game. C9S says, best game from Benton in his career so far, probably. Yeah, I forgot to mention Benton. I'm glad you brought him up. Peyton Wilson had a good game too, in terms of some of our young players on defense. Benton, though, yeah, with the pick. That was dope. But he was wreaking havoc on the interior. I like our edge rushers, man. I like the three-headed monster, TJ, Highsmith, and Herbig, because there was that period where TJ had to sit out. He had that injury, and it felt like, don't say this is blasphemy or anything. It felt like Herbig was getting some more pressure than what TJ Watt was doing. Now, part of that could be Herbig's more fresh than TJ. But a couple of those, it was like 2, 3, 4 snaps in a row. Herbig, it felt like he had more pop in getting to the quarterback than what TJ was giving us throughout the course of the game. This is not a shot at TJ. This is just a more pro Herbig of a take. More on pumping up what Herbig's been doing for us. What were Russ's numbers? Nothing crazy. He actually had some. I didn't mention his rushing yards. He actually did some stuff with his legs. 6 carries, 17 yards. I felt like it was better than that, though. Maybe they're counting some of the sacks he took, which I don't know. Maybe I don't think they would, actually. I felt like he did a little bit better than the 6 carries, 17 yards. Maybe not, though. Maybe not. I thought he picked up a first down or two. But he was 15 of 26, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, 101.1 rating. Nothing crazy. But it was winning football. Najee did all right. 16 carries, 53 yards, 3.3 yards per carry, touchdown. I like Jaylen Warren, man. Again, Jaylen Warren continues to show. No matter like how consistent Najee is for us, we still need Jaylen. If we sign Najee to an extension this offseason and give him the $10 million he probably deserves, we still need Jaylen Warren. We need this tandem, thunder and lightning. Because Jaylen, 9 carries, 47 yards, 5.2 yards per carry. Also had the 2 receptions and 25 yards in the receiving game. And he was big in that second half because it felt like our offense was a little stale, but he was a big part of how Arthur Smith switched things up and got things going a little bit more with the passing game. And it was just more open as opposed to when we have Najee in there. Sometimes it's with heavy personnel, a couple tight ends, a little bit more predictable. There's nothing wrong with that, especially when we're executing and there's holes to be had and Najee's picking up 5-6 yards of carry and posing as well on the defense. But there's other times you got to switch it up. You need a little bit of spark, and Jaylen Warren does that. There's no denying it. So give respect to Jaylen Warren. Don't forget it. Don't forget about him. Don't forget about 3-0. D-Max, give Austin credit. He blitzed Queen more than once. Terrell Austin. Yeah. There was, not even Queen. There was a couple times early in the game. We brought the house on Jameis. We really set the tone on defense. I like that first 3-and-out series. Elliott, TJ, Herbig, Highsmith, had all of them on the field at the same time. He did. Yes, there were some unique formations out there. He had, I think it was Highsmith. We had like 4 down linemen on the one play, and Highsmith was lined up on the inside with Cam Hayward. And Herbig, I think it was Herbig and TJ on the outside. And he had Herbig drop back out in pass coverage. You're right. There was some unique formations and just play calls from the defensive side of things. I like that. Yeah, good call. Give Terrell Austin some credit. 14 points. I mean, that's good in and of itself, but let's not forget it was really 7 points when the game was over and we were up to 3 scores. It was 7 points we gave up by the end of the third, early fourth quarter. All right. I'm out of here then, guys. Unless you can let me know if I missed anything. Russ is playing like an elite quarterback. I don't think we got to. It's one of those things. Whenever you have an elite quarterback, you can almost just like pass over talking in depth about what they're doing out there, just because he's playing top 5. This is what Russ is doing week in and week out. Let's move on. Almost like when TJ Watt, when he was balling out, like it's weird because we're able to talk about the TJ Watt, the DPOY, and like kind of like the storylines. It's honestly more interesting to talk about TJ Watt right now because he's not playing like TJ Watt, and you're wondering what's going on. Whereas whenever TJ's playing like TJ, you're just like, yeah, another TJ game, 2.5 sacks, forced fumble, pass deflection. It is what it is. Moving on, and that's how it feels like Russ is playing. Whenever you have an elite quarterback, you're just like, yeah, Russ is doing what Russ is doing. He's playing elite. Balled out in the second half, cooked in the second half, closed out the game for us. Was clutch. Cool. Moving on. Like that's one of the big reasons why we're serious Super Bowl contenders. When you got a guy, we got a guy, and it helps the whole team. Really, like everyone around him. Helps the offense, helps the defense, helps the special teams. There's a certain belief. There's that attitude. There's that mindset. You can win in multiple ways, no matter what. You're always gonna have a chance. You're always gonna have a chance. And Russ keeps delivering. One of Creation says, why can't Russ be comeback player of the year? Yeah, he's definitely got a good case. The thing that sucks for Russ, if he didn't miss those first 6 weeks and if he was playing like this, he'd be in the MVP conversation. Like legit. The storyline is there. And the fact too that we're 10-3, and typically the MVP goes to a guy on a team that's winning, one of the better teams in the league. But the storyline, man, with Russ, not only with Russ, but like the Steelers, the combination of us not having that leader, not having that quarterback over these last couple of years that we could rely on like that, and Russ coming in and seeing what he's been able to do, and with him in Denver the last couple of years and everyone writing him off, it would have been perfect. It would have been a perfect MVP story. The numbers are there, his plays all there, but since he missed 6 games, about a third of the season, he's not going to be able to get it. So maybe comeback player of the year is the award that he could get. But I ain't that concerned one way or another. For Russ, it'd be cool for the MVP, but I don't even think he cares about MVP. I don't think he cares about comeback player of the year. He wants that Super Bowl, bro. He wants that Super Bowl. And that's what I think all these elite quarterbacks want more than MVP or the personal accolades. It's the Super Bowls that, especially with quarterback, that's what you're judged off of. Matt Ryan, guarantee it. He'd be trading that MVP in a heartbeat for that Super Bowl against the Patriots. Cam Newton, he'd be trading that MVP for a Super Bowl in a heartbeat. Dan Marino, I bet you he has an MVP. I think he's got at least 1 or 2 MVPs. I bet you he'd trade those for a Super Bowl all day, every day. So that's what Russ wants. But it would have been cool for him. I mean, again, like we were talking about TJ winning the DPOY. As fans of the team, we want our players to be getting those accolades and recognition. But the ultimate goal is that it's that Super Bowl. But all right, guys, I'm out of here. Big win for the Steelers. We stay on the pace that we've been on. One of the best teams in the AFC. Let's try to get this 1 seed. Hopefully Pickens' hamstring heals up for next week. We're going to need him. You know what this schedule looks like down the stretch. We ain't scared of it. Trust me, we ain't scared of it by any stretch of the imagination. We definitely aren't. But, yeah, us getting the 1 seed is almost at this point related to us winning out. I mean, it really is. It kind of goes hand in hand. We got to win out, and then we need the Chiefs to lose another game. We need the Bills to lose a couple games here. So we got to win out. We're assuming the 1 seed is in grasp because we went out. So if we let one slip, it makes it a little bit harder, obviously. But all right, I'm out of here. I think this is like the second or third time I've closed out the show, but it's legit this time. I'm out. Stay chilling, everyone. Here we go, Steelers, 10-3. Peace.